All right, everyone. Welcome back to the RePHIL studio. This is your host, SB4 here. Get your cans ready. We're going to refill to 99 for this upcoming set. And I have the utmost pleasure to welcome Sprite and Blair to the podcast today as our special guests. And just a brief intro for both of them. Sprite is notably a T1 haver of the Devotedly Towards My Dreams event, as well as very recently first place in the Title Idol event. And Blair is very notable for having second place in the Hello Happy World softball event. So both of you, thank you all so much for joining the studio as guests today.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so excited. I'm going to say that the whole time. I'm literally so excited.
Blair is also notably my bestie.
Yeah.
No, you.
Well, is there anything else you would like to add to that intro? I know I talked about your tiering, but maybe like you want to add anything about the intro, either about yourself or about the person that you're also speaking about with.
Sprite?
I like pastel palettes.
Nice.
I don't know. That's pretty much. I go to school.
Whoa.
I know, right?
Yep.
Dream Girls Band Party.
Fascinating. Well, again, both of you, thanks so much for joining today. And usually when I have our guests come over, I ask them and, get to know a little bit more about how they first got into the series and how they first got into Bang Dream. And, let's start with Blair. How did you first get into this series called Bang Dream Girls Band Party?
Yeah, so I got into it before EN came out, actually. My friend, it's kind of funny because I feel like I never hear a lot of people say that a real life friend suggested it to them. It's usually an online friend, but my real life friend had actually suggested the game to me because they covered Cruel Angel's Thesis, and I was super into Neon Genesis at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, this looks so cool. So I tried it on their iPad, and then they're like, an English release is coming out in, I think it was March or something. So I had signed up for like the pre-release and everything. So I actually got it on the day that it came out, and it was really funny because I did my first 10 pull and I got 3 of the 4-star initials. And I was like, is this normal? And he was like, what the fuck? And yeah, that was pretty much history from there. So yeah.
Wow. So you're a Bandori boomer.
Yeah, it's really funny because I didn't really start tiering until Beaten in the Rain, but yeah, I am a boomer. I have a 6-digit ID.
Oh, well, fellow 6-digit ID haver here. So, yeah, we are pretty boomer. And Sprite, what about you? How did you get into Bandori?
So, I actually was just sitting on my couch on my phone, and I got an ad for it. And usually I feel like the ads don't always draw people in, but it was a picture of Maya, and I was like interested. So I downloaded it, and then I didn't open it for like 2 weeks, but I opened it again during Backstage Methods and went from there.
Sprite, you are the second guest in a row that like a mobile ad actually worked.
Oh my gosh.
for someone to actually get into the game. And we always like meme about how mobile ads never work because they're always so ridiculous. But maybe Bandori's doing something right.
Clearly.
Yeah,
they just have to put pictures of pastel palettes.
Well, getting into the game, Sprite, and I want to maybe elaborate a little bit more. You've already shown, and based on the events and based on, a lot of the aesthetics in general, right? I'm sure Pastel Palettes, is your favorite band, and that's really like what you really got into Bandori for. But was that always the case at the start? Like, was it Pastel Palettes right from the start, and it was something that you were always so passionate about?
It was. Towards the beginning, not all 5 of Pastel Palettes were my favorite, but they were my favorite band.
Mm-hmm.
But after I started reading the stories more, they became my favorite so quickly.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what about the Pastel Palettes in general that you find so I guess inspiring, or what makes them so endearing to you?
Oh, where do I even start? First of all, I love pastel things. Pink's my favorite color.
Mm-hmm.
Everything in my life, I get it in pastel. So immediately I was drawn to that. But I also have always admired Aya's just, she never gives up. She always follows her dreams. It's really inspiring because even when she like fumbles the ball sometimes, she just gets back up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I also like how each member of the band serves a very specific purpose in holding the group together. Like it wouldn't work if even a single one of them were missing.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And when it comes to devotion towards Pasta Palettes, right, you're definitely one of the biggest fans out there. So
I hope so.
And Blair, what about you? Would you say that your devotion towards your favorite band is as strong as Sprite's towards Pasta Palettes?
I think it's kind of funny because I really like Hello Happy, but I've come to the realization like a couple months ago that I think my favorite band is honestly Afterglow. Like I really love Hello Happy, but I loved Moi and I loved the interactions that Afterglow have. And I love the message that Hello Happy sends. But I think like interaction wise and like story wise, I think Afterglow definitely takes the cake for me. And a lot of Afterglow songs are always hits. Like they almost never miss. So really hard to go wrong with that.
And even as a boomer, I guess like, even as you see characters evolve or grow and like years ahead, you have sort of differing opinions, or you have your opinions of bands change, and you really start to appreciate everything as a whole as a series. So so great to hear about that and how you got into this series. Now, how did you two first meet each other? Do you recall, like, when did that happen?
Do you want me to start, Sprite?
Yeah, you start.
The reason why I think it's funny is because I would always look at Sprite on Twitter and be like, damn, Sprite is so cool. And I would be like, like I was kind of like, I didn't stalk Sprite, but I was like, I want to be friends with them. And I forget exactly how we started interacting, but I just started replying to their tweets on Twitter. And then I think it was the day where the paid poll for, was it Halloween Pasupare, like the rerun, maybe? And maybe it wasn't. It was one of the paid polls, like maybe a limb poll or something. And I was like, oh, I'll DM you my results on Discord. And we had just kind of started talking from there.
Yeah, and what's funny is he's talking about how he thought I was cool at first, but I thought he was cool. So it's like double friendship feelings. But I didn't message first because I was shy.
Well, it's good that at least we're able to take that initiative, and then through small interactions into there, your friendship grew really well from there. So that's really great to see. So you never know when you really find that one like amazing friend, until who knows, depending on what happens in certain circumstances or communication. So again, it's great to see that happening. What about getting into sort of like the community, and also getting a little bit into like tiering in general? How did that start? I guess maybe we'll start with Sprite, and then Blair could add to that.
Okay. I guess my start with tiering kind of begins with my ideal, my Eve event. I tried to pub top 10, and eventually I got voted. But after that, I was talking about the Full Blooming Aya event in Pubcord, and Clam sent me an invite to this server. And what was funny is when I joined, I thought it was just a place to hang out and talk about the event. But then they were like, do you want a spot on the roster? And I was like, what's a roster? But then I figured it out, and I pretty much just started tiering from there.
Wow. That's quite interesting that you were sort of, I guess, in Pubcore. So you first figured out Pubcore just like randomly, just by happen chance?
Yes. I think I saw it on Twitter at some point.
So you were kind of on Pubcore, and then you were trying to show some whale thoughts with T10, but then that didn't work, and then eventually you actually got some attention from Clam. Clam has introduced many people into tiering. I don't think you're the first one who mentioned Clam either. So what was that like in terms of joining. You already mentioned, right, how a server at first was like, oh, it just seemed like a hangout kind of event. But what was it like when you were invited to join a roster and said, oh yeah, let's actually go for like a T10?
I was a little nervous, honestly, because I feel like when you haven't really been tiering and then you see people getting like top 10 on the leaderboard and racking up all these points and titles, you're like, oh gosh, can I really put in all that time and effort? But you just have to, do that. And I think that makes me a lot less nervous after seeing how nice people are and how relaxed it actually is to hang out in a tiering server.
Definitely. And that's like, I guess, like the main thing. There's always a different tiering server for every different event. Every event has, and their server has a different sort of unique characteristic or vibe to it. But sometimes it's always the first one that's a bit hard to find. But once you kind of get used to that, then it gets a lot easier from there. So yeah, well, that's good. That's good. We'll talk a little bit more about exactly like, how those tiering experiences added in just a bit. I don't know if Blair is back, but Blair, what about you? How did you sort of first get into the community, get into tiering, and how did that all start?
Honestly, I think I was just tweeting about it on Twitter, and I was like, because my first event that I went for was top 1000 for Beaten in the Rain. And I think my biggest regret is not knowing a little bit sooner, so I could have gotten that top 100, because that is probably, obviously, as a fan of Kokoro and Tomoe, like the event. But so I think after that, I knew I wanted to go higher. And I was waiting for a Kokoro Halloween rerun. And I ended up getting her on my second pool. So I had a lot of stars left over. And then Kimiga came up, and I was like, I don't want to be stuck in top 1000. I want top 100. What do I do? And then I think it was an old friend, Amelia, who DM'd me and was like, hey, like, I don't remember if like maybe they sent me a link to Pubcord, but somehow somebody told me DM people with like tags in their names. And I was like, okay, cool. So I did. And then I eventually got a link to, I think it was Feather's server for Kimiga. So yeah, and that was my first event, and I had the time of my life. And then I was stuck from there. I would be so excited because I remember for Smile Patrol, which was my next top 100, like I went above and beyond. I was so excited. I didn't even think about top 10. I just wanted to be the highest I could be, but I didn't even think the top 10 would ever be an option for me. But yeah, so that's kind of how I slowly got into things, and the ball just kept rolling and the money just kept falling out of the
no. Oh no, not that snowball. That's a snowball that fell down quite hard there. But Blair, it's really interesting how like you were able to get into a tiering server and then be able to hang out with people and tier together. So what kind of what was kind of the main, I guess, motivation to be able to sort of stick around and be able to continue to join other servers and be able to help out and also, of course, share your own goals and of tiering?
Yeah, honestly, I just really liked looking at the leaderboard and just having that 2-digit number. I was like, that feels good. Something about that feels good. So, and it was really fun to get to hang out with people who had the same hobbies, because the friend who had suggested the game to me was slowly getting out of it, and I played it every day. I was in high school at the time, and I would literally tier between breaks between classes. So, it was something I was really interested in, and I was making a lot of friends doing it online. So it was just something that, I kept wanting to do because I had made friends in the community. So I wanted to keep seeing those people, and I wanted to get better. Yeah. I didn't start thinking about a T10 until, oh Lord, I don't know, maybe after Smile Patrol.
Okay. Well, yeah. So, again, it's really like it's so unique how everyone has a little different way of getting into tiering. It's so quite fascinating how there's always all these many different motivations and such. But at the end of the day, one of the main sort of rewarding parts is just be able to tier with people, have a community setting, and just be able to tier together and achieve goals together. I think that's one thing that really motivates people from with tiering and be able to show their devotion for particular characters or bands or whatnot. And I think that's also leads towards sort of the creation of another community. We've talked about many different communities in this podcast before. We've talked about communities like CNC. We talked about communities like Fleet Notes. For both of you, for you two, I think you have a very particular community, the Hive community. What do you find that how special do you find this community, and how to kind of start getting into that? Either of you could start.
Yeah, Sprite, do you want to, or do you want me to? I don't really care which way we do this.
First, I'll say I love Hive, and I give all of them a very big hug. I think I've never moderated. I'm not really sure how Hive came into existence other than just a friendly server coming up, but I remember getting invited, and I've been hanging out in there ever since. It's a very nice, friendly place.
Yeah. But Blair, I don't know. Maybe you could add to that. Maybe you know the origin story.
Yeah. So unfortunately, I can't get too much into the reason as why the server was made. We just wanted a place where we had our close friends in a space where we felt comfortable, because there was a lot of stuff going on in the community at the time that it was made, and a lot of us wanted kind of a safe space in a way. So that's kind of how it was made. But now it's so much more than that, and we have grown so much as a community, and the people that I had known at the beginning of the server are people that are some of my best friends now, and all of us get along so well. I don't know where I would be without Hive. We went from a Bandori server, and now we all still play Bandori, but we're primarily just Genshin now. But yeah, I had joined a little bit after it was made. RC had originally made it with Honey, I think, and I joined it maybe a week after it was made, and I think it was maybe a couple minutes later, and we had started modding it and everything together. But yeah, I definitely don't take credit for the creation of it, because I don't think I knew it existed until a week after. I think it was made after Christmas. Hello Happy.
Yeah, I think so.
But
yeah.
So it's it's a really great place, a lot of great people. It's one of the most comfortable places I've ever been in. You know what I mean? Everybody's super understanding and kind, and it's a place where everybody gets along, which is something I feel is really hard to see these days. So that's one thing I really enjoy about Hive, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. And again, it's always great to see so many communities in this just whole general fan base, right? Just seeing people grow and people getting to interact and just have fun with a common interest. And I did remember also being invited to Hive not too long after its creation as well. Back then I wasn't really part of wasn't really too understanding of exactly the community was, or I wasn't really even familiar with Discord, to be honest, as a matter of fact. So I wasn't really in communities or anything, but it was really, really fascinating and really cool to see that invitation. And of course, RC, very familiar name. They were in the podcast as well before. So yeah, so again, Hive is a great place. Our wonderful bees, as we call each other, right? Yeah, so really great to see that grow. Let's actually move on to talk a little bit more about, I guess, the main sort of meat of the subjects here, which is the actual tiering experiences. So I'm gonna kind of go in chronological order, because I guess that sort of makes the most amount of sense. So Sprite, you first of all, Devotedly Towards the Dream was sort of first event in terms of the I guess the timeline here. So first of all, how did you come up with the idea that you were going to T1 this particular event, and what kind of preparations you did for that?
So after I finished Full Blooming and got my first podium title, I decided that I wanted to tier something again, but that the next one I wanted to do would be a full pastel palettes event. So I was looking at future ones, and I saw the Aya Eve event, and they're my two favorites. So I instantly latched onto it. And at the time, I didn't even realize that there would be competition or anything. And I just was all over Twitter, as a baby tier, guys, I'm totally gonna T1 this. And for preparation, I basically pulled a bunch of 4-star happy cards that I didn't really need, and I also did a very bad job of saving my stars.
so AKA not that much prep. But that's a little bit of a dangerous road you rode. But I did remember joining your server very soon after where I first started my first experience, Sprite, and I was like, oh, Sprite's a very interesting person. I want to get to know them a little bit more and see how they'll do in the T1. And of course, the event happened. There was competition. It was a 12-day event.
I think it was 10 days and 8 hours.
10 also 11-day event.
Yes.
How did that experience go? I know we've had a couple of guests already talk about Devotedly, but you as the T1 haver, I'm sure you have a lot of experiences that you would like to fondly remember and maybe not so fondly remember.
It was so much fun. I mean, even though I was really tired the whole time and everything, I still had a lot of fun with it just because it was so fun to experience that community coming together and playing. But it was definitely very challenging because I've never really had to run on so little sleep before. And at certain points, I stayed up 40 plus hours. Also, pretty much the entire time, the reason the Pepto-Bismol became a meme is because I was sick every single day, which was, obviously just the cherry on top. Made things really easy. But even throughout all of that, I still really fondly remember it because it was just a really happy time, even though it was so exhausting.
Yeah, it was a crazy event. I remember, talking with you, talking with Skitter, how sleep deprived the two were, and halfway through the event, it wasn't looking good. To be honest, in terms of your rankings. It really wasn't. Evergreen and Emmy were very strong competition. It wasn't looking good, but you really pulled it off at the end with who knows how little sleep or how many energy drinks you drank on that. But man, that was a crazy rush. And when was the moment where you realized that like you were able to do it? Like, was there any point in the event where there's like a turning point where you're like, I know I could do this, and even though it's the stakes don't look really good, I still could do this. So do you remember when that happened?
Honestly, I think right around the 8-day mark, I was getting pretty disillusioned and I did not see it turning around. Mm-hmm. But I decided that no matter what happened, I wanted to commit as much as I could. And if it gets me to first place, which hopefully it will, then that'd be great. But I'm going to just give it my all. So I put all my effort in, and that is how it turned out.
Wow, that's crazy. Did you remember any other very notable moments of that time of your of that T1, and sort of, I guess, the feeling after when you were able to secure it?
The feeling after, besides just being really excited, is I was also really happy about being able to sleep. After pretty much the event ended, and then I posted, yay! And then I slept for God knows how long.
Oh boy, yeah. That's the life of a tiering competition. And for those who are unaware, maybe our viewers who are unaware, at the time, that was, I think, the first mission, or one of the first few mission lives where they had like the increase score, I think, or so right off the bat, you set a very, very high standard for mission live events, getting 70 million points, which is absolutely crazy. It's a combination of the fact that there was competition and also it was a 11-day event. So, but big props to you, Sprite. And again, I remember that when you got that T1 and all the memes that we had shared in that event. But that was a lot of fun watching. That was still, I think, one of the most entertaining sort of competitions and tiering experiences I've still watched even up to this point. So. yeah, major props to that.
The memes are still very important.
Memes are very indeed very, very important. Let's move on to you, Blair, because of course you eventually also had whale thoughts. So when did you first decide that you wanted to get a podium title, and how did you choose softball as the event that you wanted to tier?
So I actually didn't choose my podium. My podium kind of ended up choosing me. I remember when the banner for softball first dropped. I actually have a screenshot of it, so I'm going to send that in the lounge.
Okay.
Because I was losing my mind when I saw this. I have played softball my whole life. It's been a very important part of my life. Growing up, I played for literally grade school until the end of my high school career, and the friends that I've made doing that are people who carried me through a lot of dark moments in my life. I always tell this because I feel like it's a very important part of the story. But one of my best friends, I had lost one of my best friends who had passed away during high school and was on my softball team, and she was my everything. So softball is very important to me for this reason. So when I saw this event, I knew that I wanted to go for it. At least T100. I was like, oh, I can't do T10, but I can definitely do T100. And then for a while, I was like, you know what, maybe I'll see if there's a spot on roster. So I DM'd R2 and roster was capped. So I was like, no big deal. I'll just T100. So, I keep thinking about it, and all my friends are like, you should just snipe. I'm like, no, that's not nice. I shouldn't. No. So, but then eventually I DM'd R2 again and was like, can you just let me know when one opens? And R2 was like, yeah, of course. So eventually I get on. I'm peeing my pants at this point. I'm over the moon. I'm elated. I was so excited to get to tier this event. And then I'm pretty sure at that point it was anticipated to be woke. I don't remember why. We just anticipated a couple snipers or something, and there was supposed to be competition for T10. But eventually, I do think it was Kevs who dropped from podium, if I recall correctly. And R2 was like, Blair, you should just podium. And I was like, no. I was like, I can't do that. I don't have the funds. And they're like, yes, you can. So, I was going to do T3, and then I ended up doing T2. So that's just kind of how the cookie crumbled. But I have never, similar to Sprite, I don't save in-game. All the funds come right out of the wallet. So I'm so terrible about that. All of my events, I think I might have saved a little bit for Christmas. But I spent so much money because not only did I end up podium at the same time, but obviously with anniversary, it's almost impossible not to spend money. So not only did I podium, but I also ended up sparking Kanon in the same time frame. So that happened.
Oh no.
I know.
That's crazy. But that's honestly amazing. I love how so many of these podium stories, and a lot of the times it's some people might find it a little bit they find themselves they're intruding when they keep asking is a roster spot open, and then because people do remember if they see that passion and if the roster spot does open, people remember and they will message you if something does happen or something does change. And that's a similar situation with me with my T10 as well. That's a very similar situation. So it's really cool to see, Blair, that kind of happened to you as well. And even before the softball event happened, right? You did eventually do a T10 before, which was I think was it the Christmas Hell Happy?
Yeah.
Or yeah. So
Yeah.
did that sort of help with your confidence in that? Oh, I could actually do a podium.
No, I was still peeing my pants. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't have my shit together until Red Ignition, and I feel like that was the first event where I was literally like, first of all, I decided to tier Red Ignition. Well, I DM'd Lilith when a roster had dropped, and I knew that there was, but roster was full, so I was like, you know what I mean. And by the time that Red Ignition had kind of dropped, I had kind of fallen out of Bandori a little bit, but the banner dropped, and I was like, I'm T10ing. So that happened, and that was the first event where I was like, I didn't have any worries. I was just like, I know what to do. Everybody, it's so obnoxious when I feel like people kind of think it is, because I know I did when people said play more is the only advice that people can give you, because that's not helpful. It doesn't sound helpful, but there's a certain point where you just feel comfortable where you're like, okay, play more is literally the only advice. I don't know. You know what I mean? That's all that, you can think to say. That's all you can do, So I know that there's that also that mental part of it too. So it's really difficult. But yeah, Christmas was interesting. I did not think I was ever going to tear again after Christmas, to be entirely honest. I thought that, especially with T10 being 12 mil, I thought that that was so much when I teared for the first time. And then I zoomed during like softball, and I was like, okay, that's not that bad. And then I watched Smiling Summer Break happen, and I was like, never mind. That's not bad at all. 12 mils is not that bad, I guess. So, I was like, things could definitely be worse. So, but all in all of these tearing experiences, whether they were hectic or amazing, have led me to meet the people that I have met and all the places that I have been. So I don't regret any of them at all. Softball definitely was one of the best tearing servers I have ever been. There's a little bias there, obviously, but I know that a lot of my friends, like, it's one of the funnest places they've said they've had a server in. So, and it just means so much to me. So between that, I think some of the funnest servers that I've been in is that, and definitely Title Idol. Unfortunately, I wasn't around for summer break because I was at an art academy, but everybody there said they had the time of their lives too. So if Hive's there, it's just a party, apparently.
Yeah, that's honestly amazing, Blair. The fact that maybe again that you maybe had some doubts or some uncertainties when you were tiering, but again, that's sort of how a tiering server is built, right? It's to really bring people together and help work together and achieve the goals. And I'm sure softball again was a very memorable moment when you tiered together, when you tiered with everyone, tiered with R2, get the title and be able to achieve your goals. So yeah, it's very, very great to hear. Was there anything like super notable, super memorable in particular about softball that you want to maybe share, or maybe something that people don't know about?
I cry anytime I think about softball. So the fact that I'm not crying right now is amazing. Not really. If you've never read the lyrics to the song, go read them, please. They're so heartwarming. And just the way that this event talks about, like, obviously all Hell Happy events are about like friendship and stuff, but this one so specifically just about encouraging people and uplifting, each other. It's just such a message that I relate to so much, is that, you know what I mean? Especially going through so much. I feel like it's something that everybody can relate to in any way, shape, or form. So it just makes me cry. It's so sweet. Oh, God, please go read it.
Mandatory reading.
Man, reading Bandori event stories is surprisingly not a common thing for a lot of people, which is a shame, because there are definitely some event stories that are very good, some song lyrics that are very good. So if you have the opportunity to do that, it really opens your eyes to, why some people are so passionate about their favorite bands and in this game. There's definitely a lot of really nice written sort of backgrounds for all of our bands here. So, and that's why we love Bang Dream. So yeah. So again, Blair, big congrats on your T2, honestly.
Thank you.
It's a very big achievement. So I'm very glad that you were able to achieve your personal goals and dreams through that event as well. So big congrats on that. Hey guys, it's Phil here. Hope you're enjoying the episode so far. The RePHIL Studio is now available on all of your favorite podcast platforms. Check us out on YouTube, but of course as well on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Be sure to subscribe so you're up to date with the latest episodes whenever they're released. And be sure to give ratings and comments and spread the word. All that engagement is greatly appreciated to spread the word about the RePHIL Studio podcast. Of course, special thanks to all my Filler Nation members who've been constantly supporting me and my content throughout this journey with the RePHIL Studio. So if you would like to support the RePHIL Studio and my content and greatly appreciate it, consider joining by subscribing to my Twitch below or by joining my Patreon. Links in the description below, and any support is greatly appreciated. We have a new sister channel. You can check it out in the card above, where there's going to be exclusive content, including my Twitch VODs, as well as a sister project for the RePHIL Studio that will be happening in the future. So definitely check it out and be sure to give a subscribe. And of course, feel free to join our Anga Academy Discord server, where we have a fun, loving community, and interact with our members there, be able to contribute to the studio question that's featured in the podcast every week, and get to know a little bit more about our special guests featured in the podcast. So we hope to see you there. This episode will be resuming shortly. Let's sort of bring this all together because Title Idol, I think, although Sprite, it is your T1, Blair, it's a very important event for you too. So let's kind of bring that together because, you have your own individual tiering stories and then there's this big event together with Title Idol. And then, setting up the tiering server, being able to, build the roster and support each other in this aspect. So first of all, Sprite, you had one T1. Why was it that you were not satisfied with just one T1?
First of all, I feel like two T1s looks good together. And second of all, when I read the Title Idol story after it first came out, I literally sobbed. Mm-hmm. I loved the story so much. I feel like it's just such a perfect representation of everything Pastel Palette stands for. So I really wanted to go for it because it was so special to me. But also because I was really excited to have that tiering experience again of hanging out with everybody and just tapping my screen for hours. Because as tiring as it is while you're doing it, it's still so fun, even after it takes forever.
Tiering is not, again, tiering itself is not fun. So we have to find lots of ways to, kill the time and make it enjoyable, right? So, tapping the screen, playing A to Z. Not necessarily the most brain stimulating thing to do, but and Blair, at that point, right? At that point, I think you were very well acquainted with Sprite. So when you hear that they were going for T1, again, what kind of thoughts you had in terms of like what you're going to do to sort of support and make sure that they were able to get their goal.
Yeah, well, neither of us expected it to end up getting extended that long. So as soon as that happened and I saw that, I was like, oh God, what is going to happen? So I think one of the main reasons why this event was so big for me as well is because this kind of marks the anniversary of Sprite and I kind of meeting and talking almost. Like we're a little bit over a year in our friendship and so much has happened. But yeah, so it was just really important to the both of us, and I knew that I wanted Sprite to have the best time possible. I wanted everybody to have fun. I wanted it to be calm. I didn't want it to get hectic, even if there was competition. So that's all that I knew, is that I wanted us both to have fun and everybody to have a good time, competition or not.
No, seriously, he's like my bodyguard because before the event, he kept messaging me being like, I hope you have fun, even though it's 11 days.
I was so worried. I was like, this is gonna ruin it.
He'd check up on me and be like, are you having fun? It felt like the "Are you winning, son" meme.
or like maybe, I don't know, like Sprite, you're like walking down the catwalk and stuff, and like Blair's just that like black suit bodyguard in the back, just like making sure everyone has to make sure that everything's okay here. So yeah, so it's really cool to see that again. That you're able to support each other and just be able to have a good, strong French group to support each other. Because again, T1ing and podiuming is not easy. You need a big support group in terms of a strong roster to help play with each other, a strong set of people to sort of help fill rooms, and of course a moderator team that could really help make sure that things are controlled. So. Funny enough, Blair was kind of like a little bit of everyone, a little bit of mod, a little bit of filling. So yeah, it's pretty neat. So what, Sprite, when you first heard, again, Blair already mentioned, when you first heard that the event was going to be 13 days long, well, even before that, because at that point the schedule is always kind of getting messed up as well. So like, how did that feel when you saw the schedule was getting shifted around, and then when it finally came, when it was the new year, that wow, this event's gonna be 13 days?
Oh my gosh. Well, at first I thought everybody was messing with me because some people were just saying, whoa, Title Idol 13 days, and I was like, oh, you guys are so funny. But then I saw the screenshot on the Google Play Store and I was like, oh no. I was really nervous at first, especially because I was going to be missing the first 3 hours of event. But thankfully, there was not really any competition going on like that made it super intense or anything. So it didn't have too much of an impact in the end, especially considering I just went to my park and then didn't play for days. So I was pretty grateful for the relaxation, honestly. But at first, yeah, I was really worried.
Yeah. And then when I saw that event, I was like, wow, Bandori just only wants Sprite to tier 10 plus day events. Like, whenever Sprite tier, it's like, all right, everyone, we got to make it 10 plus days.
Because they know I'll buy more stars.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty crazy there. But again, Title Idol is one of the Bandori 3s. It was, again, I imagine it'd be quite nerve-wracking because you think, oh, yeah, if it's a Bandori 3, there's going to be like maybe at least some competition, some form of competition that could make things really difficult. It might become DTMD V2 again, right? So I'm sure you were ready for that if that was going to be the case. But
yes.
I guess you compared to DTMD, I'm sure you found it a little bit more relaxing, a little bit more fun, and also in general, just the fact that you didn't have to stay up on energy drinks all night, I suppose.
Yeah, I was really glad to not be constantly chugging Pepto.
No, not just not like so many bottles, maybe like one or two at most.
Yeah, exactly. Only on the first day. That was the only time I ended up getting sick, thankfully.
Yeah. When you mentioned you were getting sick, it's like, oh no, not again. This is actually like DTMD, like version 2 all over again.
Yeah, but I was really nervous that I was going to be sick the entire time.
Yeah, but luckily, things worked out even despite the scheduling. It all worked out for you. So definitely big props there. And Blair, when you were modding the server, seeing Sprite try so hard to tier and work hard to get their goal, what did you see in Title Idol that made it so memorable for you?
Yeah, just Sprite and I getting to hang out, honestly. Like I said, the fact that it was like, I think we were both feeling it with it being almost our year anniversary. It was really, for me, I was really emotional. I was so excited for Title Idol, for it to be a good time for us. So I didn't want them to have to worry about anything, and especially once event got extended, I was like, everybody better behave because I can't. Nothing bad can happen. Okay, we need everything to go well because it's like 13 days now. Everybody needs to we all just need to stay calm and have fun.
Yeah, it's definitely something. I think overall, right, though, like it was a pretty fun event. When it turns out there wasn't really a competition for T1, so Sprite was able to get it. Big shout outs to Mint as well. Like I felt so good for her because God,
Mint did amazing.
Mint unfortunately got voted because of school and in DTMD, so it was like sort of like the revenge arc, and it was great to see her that she got it as well. Of course, shout outs to everyone else in the roster, Kay, Skidder, familiar face, and there are a couple of people from Simcord as well joining in and joining forces. So it was really, really cool to see. So so again, Title Idol, I think, as well, as you mentioned, Sprite, very, very good story. Actually, just looking at the story in general, like I didn't look too much into the other stories as in detail, but I definitely looked into Title Idol story in detail, and I really like it. So I can see why that you definitely chose to tier that. So
that's more mandatory reading, everybody.
That's your homework for today, to read Title Idol story. You have to read Softball story, read Title Idol story, and then you'll get the seal of approval from Teacher Blair and Teacher Sprite. Yeah, but again, Sprite, big congrats on your T1.
Thank you.
Could have, because of how the scheduling worked, although, it was very stressful with the scheduling, you can now officially say that you are the very first T1 haver of 2022 in Bandori. So, yeah, you are a very notable achiever in that aspect. So, yeah, big props to you there. So, again, both of you, thank you so much for sharing some really inspirational, really motivating tiering experiences. I'm sure that it may be the last one, it may not be, but I'm sure that these experiences are something that neither of you won't forget.
I mean, considering how many times I've said I've retired, I don't know if it's the last either, but maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think I will ever be free. This event is supposed to be my quote unquote retirement, but I think one day I'll hopefully come back for another podium.
Yeah, well, we'll see again. we'll see what kind of magic JP Bushiroad has up in their store. Be like, Blair really likes Kokoro and Tomoe. Maybe we could do another event.
And then they're gonna throw pastel palettes in there and rope me back in.
Well, pastel palettes is eventually going to happen regardless. So every pastel palettes event, you'll probably get roped somehow, right? But again, with the recent JP event with Sayo and Sugu that roped so many old fans back after 3.5 years.
Gosh, that event is so cute.
Yeah. So you never know. Kokoro and Tomoe might make a comeback, Blair. So your wallet might be a little bit careful there. You have to be a little bit wary.
Mm-hmm. I'll definitely be mindful.
So speaking of, talking about spending, which is, again, if you're a free-to-play player out there as a viewer, we're not going to try and encourage you to break that habit. But in a theoretical situation, I asked this question in our studio question to our Discord server members. And I want to share this with you two as well, seeing that I think you two would have some very interesting input on this, seeing that you've been playing the game for some time and also playing a bunch of different other rhythm games. The studio question that I asked my Discord server members was, you are responsible for making a Bandori monthly subscription pass, as let's say you're now a Bushiroad executive. What features would you add in this monthly subscription to sort of, I guess, reward players and make them feel that this is something that they would want to have on a monthly basis? I'll read a few things afterwards, but any thoughts on that?
Aside from stars, I think probably miracle crystals.
Miracle crystals?
And Michelle Monica's. And you know what? A miracle ticket. Because why not? The people deserve it.
So it's like the pay to win miracle ticket. You get one every month.
Yeah, there you go. Just build your collection like that.
Oh man. What about you? What about you, Blair?
I think, first of all, I'd just like to say that if you are free to play, I beg you never to fall down the rabbit hole. Once you start, it is so impossible to stop, and I say that with theory because I've tried so many times. But with that being said, I'd love 2 daily solos, 2 paid daily solos with that. I love doing my daily solos. I feel like those end up being the luckiest. For a purpose, they want you to spend. So yeah, I really like the passes that Project Sakai has. I hate the price. I think that some of the other ones are outrageous, but I really enjoy the stuff that those provide. Especially with the auto, I think it'd be really interesting if Bandori added the auto play function. So something like that would be really interesting. And Project Sakai also has the double daily solos. I'm trying not to do those, but yes, it certainly is there.
Yeah. I always want to complain sometimes to Bushiroad because Bang Dream, yes, it is a comparatively it is an older game compared to the other newer gacha games, but I feel like they're always kind of so behind on their times. Something again, Project Sakai with a little monthly thing where you get some rewards if you play often monthly, and then more rewards if you pay for it, right? And that's kind of the same thing with Genshin as well. But Bandori just doesn't have that, so it's kind of weird. So either way, I'm going to share some of the what our members have to say as well. And also, before I do that, I just want to the reason why I asked this question, not just because you two are whales, but but also because I was very intrigued by this particular question because in another gacha game, Fire Emblem Heroes, there was a monthly subscription thing that they started to slowly add benefits to it, and one of them was the ability to spark on sort of exclusive banners, limited banners. Now it'd be really funny if I could only imagine what the Bandori community would think if, let's say, sparking was hidden under a paywall, like a subscription pass.
Yeah.
That would be pretty bad.
Yeah, I did notice they did that. I do play Fate too, so I was like, because I don't buy it, because every time, I swear to God, not to derail with a different franchise, they beg you to buy that with the way it pops up.
Oh
Every time
yeah.
you click on your quests and missions, and it's like, dang. At least the other games don't put it in your face as much.
Yeah, pretty much. You know, they lock it under like the monthly missions, but yeah. So we have one very particular suggestion from one of our viewers. This is the list that he has, which is from Steve. Natural flame regen will reduce from 30 will reduce to 25 minutes. So instead of one natural flame every 30 minutes, is one natural flame every 25 minutes. 25 minutes. Gain more resources and EXP using half the flames, but EP gain is unaffected. Ability to claim daily bonus twice a day, so you could get a gacha ticket twice as fast. Pass exclusive missions to get 50 stars. Ability to use paid solos. Yep, that's one that Sprite has mentioned. 360 paid stars upon purchase and renewal. Live boost drinks times 2. Small life boost drink times 2 per login, and it would be $4 a month. All that for $4.
Wow.
Yeah,
Steve, you're so generous.
Well, you know, I wish that were real.
I know,
Yeah.
that's a good deal.
that would be
Also,
that too
I have
good
to
true.
say, it took me so long to realize that Yvette's is just Steve backwards. I
Yeah.
had no idea, and when someone pointed it out to me, I feel like my head exploded. It still kind of blows my mind to this day. It's
That's-
like really funny.
That's pretty funny for sure. Steve has a interesting name and how they're represented in the community, so it's pretty fun. But yeah, that would be a very big steal. But that's never gonna happen. So we could only dream. But you know, we'll see. Again, Bandori is a little bit of an old school kind of game in terms of a lot of things. So hopefully it'll catch up to the times and be a little bit more generous and be a little bit more I guess user friendly and such. So yeah. All right. Well, before we end off the podcast today, you two, I just want to ask if there's any sort of future events or future tiering that you would like to do. It could be Bandori, it could be other games. So Blair, do you have anything in mind for now, or?
Yes. The recent Project Sakai event that just dropped on JP, I put Sprite on T10 roster, so maybe we'll do that. Maybe we will. As for
Ooh.
Bandori, I don't think any of us will ever truly be retired due to how many people we've met through this game.
Mhm.
You know, there's always going to be somebody who drags us back. So if they do another sports event, I would love to see Afterglow Volleyball, so we could just do all of the sports I played when I grew up. But yeah, that's what I would love the most, is a volleyball event. Hopefully Afterglow, maybe Tomoe, but we'll see.
I think that would make a lot of sense.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I feel like me and Blair are going to get sucked in again if they ever do an Aya Coco event, or if they ever do an Aya and Tomoe event. I feel like I'm kicking myself in the shins just by saying that, but I feel like we would instantly get sucked into the Bandori whirlpool.
Yeah, Koss would drag him along with us too, probably.
Oh no! Oh man, maybe this will age poorly or well, depending on how things go. An Aya Coco event. I'm actually super surprised that is not a thing yet.
Right?
I know. They have quite a few cameos together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but maybe if that happens, would you two like go for like a coordinated T1 T2, or maybe do like a friendly competition T1 T1 for that, or let's say a theoretical Aya Coco happens, what would you two do?
I think Blair is legally required to do T1.
No, I can't.
Yes.
Listen,
Okay, I'm not going for a third one, so Blair has to take one for the team.
See, this is the thing. I'm not going to pretend like I'm some sort of like super gorilla or anything, because all of my events have vaguely been dead. And I cannot pull super long hours, and I'm not going to pretend that I can. So I don't know. We'll see. You know, I would like to get another podium, but who knows? We'll see where the road takes me. Passion can do a lot to one person, as you've seen with Scarlet. You know, passion can take somebody a very long way.
Yes,
we will see what happens when that day comes, because they're both, lead singers, so they're gonna have to one day.
They have to. Again, that's just so crazy how they haven't had an event before. But again, if neither of you end up trying to take the T1, who knows? Cost Whale will just be like do.
Yeah,
like accidentally stumble upon a T1. So
he's usually the one to offer to T1 when Sprite and I want like lower podiums. He's always
Literally.
like, I'll T1. And I'm like, great, so we have somebody.
This is just racking them up.
Oh man. Shout outs to Cos. It's so great to hear so many familiar names again throughout this podcast. We're already 27 episodes in. Did you guys notice that 27 is also
oh my gosh, it's Aya Day.
Is Aya Day. just not totally planned or anything, right?
That's why Sprite and I kept pushing it back.
Yeah. That's true. But yeah, it's really so fascinating. Again, it's so cool how the community is so heavily evolved, where you hear a lot of names, a lot of familiar faces, even throughout this whole podcast. So it's great that everyone is just so well connected, and everyone sort of has like this branch with everyone else. So it's really cool. It's really it's really neat to see. So yeah. But again, either way for both of you, hopefully all the best in your upcoming Project Sekai stint, I suppose. That's probably going to be like 9-10 months from now, but regardless, good luck on that, and hopefully there's no JP event that's maybe Ayakoko doesn't hopefully happen at the same time. So so let's hope that's the case. And Sprite, I didn't ask you yet, but do you have any plans at Bandori as well, or is also just kind of wait and see?
I think I'm mostly just going to be doing top 100 and top 50 from now on, unless something like absolutely crazy like an Ayakoko, for example, happens. I think I'm pretty much effectively retired from anything top 10 plus.
Okay. Well,
of course, unless, another Aya Eve drops on me, then who knows?
Possibility that's a little bit higher, but, we'll cross the fingers. We'll see how it goes and go from there. And as you mentioned from earlier, Blair, I was just going to say that a sports event featuring Afterglow just makes too much sense. Like, why wouldn't Tomoe be like a volleyball champion or something? But that has to happen. So
I know. I would be interested to see it, especially because I love seeing what numbers they give the players, because ironically, with Kanon, she's the catcher and her number is 8, and that was literally my position in my numbers.
Oh, so wow.
I know. When I say this event was catered to me, I mean this event was catered to me.
They wrote it with Blair in mind.
I know.
I was storyboarding it.
Did you speak with any suspicious figures that are asking about what would you like to see? Like, would it be cool if an Afterglow did some sports and you spilled some deets on some stuff, and maybe they're actually a secret Bushiroad executive? Be like, all right, Blair's gonna do this, and we need to make sure he wails.
I know, Phil. This is just where you need to start admitting that you're low key a Bushi worker.
What? No, I'm not.
I need you to tell Bushi to give me an Aya and Kaoru event.
Aya Kaoru? Oh my god, that actually would be really interesting.
I've been waiting for that for so long.
Suit Aya.
Yeah, true. Aya everything, right? Aya is everything. So
yeah.
true.
They should just put Aya in every event. What could go wrong?
Yeah, nothing could go wrong if Aya's in every event, right?
Absolutely.
True. Well, again, you two, thank you so much for taking the time to join today in the studio. I think it was a great blast to have both of you, come talk and share a lot of your experiences and have some really fun discussions about the game. Even though maybe not necessarily we played as much maybe now than before, but it's great to kind of relive some really fond memories and be able to discuss why we do enjoy the franchise so much. So before we end off, any final words, any final shout outs, to any people out there?
First of all, thank you for having me on. And also, I'm glad I got to show everyone my best friend Blair in a salmon suit.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thank you for having me. I would love to come talk again sometime if you're ever interested. And just a shout out to all of my friends. I mean, all of you know who you are. I love you all so much, and you're the reason why I'm here today, and the reason why I stay and I tier. So, any impact you've had on me, if you've ever spoken to me, thank you so much for being part of my journey, because every single one of you are the reason why I am where I'm at. So, thank you so much.
Right. Well, yeah.
Oh, and also, I just checked the listening, and shout out to my friend Daniel, who's in the other side of my house right now. He's listening. Hi, Daniel.
Shout outs to Daniel.
Yay!
Yep. Before we go, one last thing, right? We've learned a lot about you, Blair. We learned a lot about you, Sprite. So just to give a final summary or lasting impression for our listeners, Sprite, if you were able to describe Blair in one sentence, summarize him, what would you say?
Wow. Okay, I have to think of a really good sentence. He's very motivational, smart, kind, funny, and a good friend.
Aww.
And he brings smiles everywhere he goes.
Just like Kokoro.
Right? I know.
And Blair, same to you. One sentence that you would describe Sprite.
I feel like legally, the unrelated one is obviously Colorful Round Mountain. Second one, I don't know, just Sprite is such a bright person and has always been so positive. I can't say this without saying a paragraph, but yeah, Sprite is just so motivational, so kind, literally one of the sweetest people I have ever met. So good luck to the people out there trying to achieve the same kind of kindness. Let's all aspire to be Sprite, because that's the person I aspire to be, with the kindness that Sprite puts out. So
Definitely. Well, great words. And again, for both of you guests, thank you so much for joining the RePHIL Studio podcast today. So again, all of our guests are featured in the Young Academy Discord server. If you want to join in, feel free to join in, contribute to the studio question, and be able to interact with special guests that are featured in this podcast. Of course, the RePHIL Studio is available on your favorite podcast platforms: YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. So check it out over there. But until then, guys, thank you all so much for listening. This is your host, SB Philos 4, signing off. The set has been complete. Get your cans ready, because we will refill to 99 on the next set when that time comes. But until then, thank you all so much for listening, and take care. Bye-bye now.